right, I'm here for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast with Molly Rennick, who is the vocalist and founding member of the band Living Dead Girl, originally out of Ontario, right? I just put out a new album, your sophomore album, Conspiracy, which is absolutely fantastic. Anybody who listens to the show that's into modern metal, goth rock, sing-song, or you kind of go pop rock even with some of the choruses and things of that nature would absolutely love it. So again, I know I said this before we started recording, but I'm glad you took time out of your busy schedule, I'm sure, with the album rollout to do this with me. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought what we would do today to kind of, obviously we want to talk the most about the record, but I always like to break down a little bit of the background for musicians. I know you've kind of got a little bit of interesting story, even from the band name all the way to the trajectory of the band through COVID and everything else like that. And then we'll obviously break down the record and everything in between. What I like to do with people to kind of kick things off, if I've never done an episode with you before or don't know you personally, is a little bit of an icebreaker on just sort of telling me, what have you been listening to a lot lately? What's kind of your Spotify on repeat? Were a few bands or artists or things of that nature you've been listening to? Just rattle off a couple for me.
I would say Architects, Falling Reverse, In This Moment, Avril Lavigne, We Came as Romans on loop.
Yeah. A lot of great records from and releases from all of those artists as well. The new We Came as Romans one, I like. They're a band that I'm really bad at keeping up with bands. And so sometimes you'll realize like an album or two came out that you didn't fully immerse yourself in. But I saw that one came out and I was blown away just at how top of their game they are at this late stage in their career. It was pretty great. I've been listening to it more than I thought,
Yeah, honestly, I've been looping a lot of the songs from that album. It's a really great record.
Yeah, and the production on it is just absolutely nuts. And Architects, what else could you say? They're kind of the greatest in the genre in a lot of ways. But yeah,
Yes.
Thanks for going over that. A lot of those from different sides of things, from both metalcore, kind of the pop rock elements, and a little bit of thematic stuff is very well encapsulated into your music. I don't often ask people about the band name. I think that's a very cliche thing for people to ask. It's like the worst question people hear. But I did see from a few articles of other interviews you've done that you had an interesting story with it, because I thought with your band name, Living Dead Girl, that it would be the Rob Zombie song reference. I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but there's actually a little bit more to it. So I guess we could kick off there, because that's about as far back as you could possibly go.
Yeah.
Kind of start off with where this idea for this band and just you kind of getting into music in general started from, basically birth, right? From what I read.
Yeah, my mom told me that when I was born, the doctor thought I was a stillborn. And I guess for the first few minutes, instead of being like a normal baby and crying and whatnot, I was just silent and not moving or anything. So they thought I was dead. And apparently my skin was like purplish gray. And that freaked my mom out for the first few minutes of my life. So she told me that story when I was maybe 12 or something. And then when I started trying to form a band when I was 15 years old, I was like, I'm just going to call it Living Dead Girl because that's what I am. And I just rolled with it. It stuck. I chose it when I was 15 and never changed it since. I considered other names so briefly, but I kept going back to Living Dead Girl. It just felt like it suited me the most of any name. And then I really started trying to form a band around 15, 16. That's when I started hitting up complete strangers with guitars in their profile picture saying, hey, do you want to come over and jam with me? And that's where Living Dead Girl was born.
Yeah, I saw that you were really just reaching out to whoever, because like me, from what I could read, you grew up in a small town in Ontario, and like myself, it can be kind of difficult for you to find people with like-minded interests in music. I mean, there's always people, especially now, I think, that you can find out live in your area that are into heavier, darker music, much more than in the past, even a couple of years ago, pre-COVID or something.
Yeah, well, the tough thing is I felt like everyone who wanted to do it was already doing it. They would already be in a band. So it's trying to find someone who wants to start a band really narrows it down to a very small group of people.
Yeah, and then you got to make sure that those people are actually have the drive and the talent to do it, which is whittling it down to 2 people in your area, right?
Literally, the drive being the biggest thing. It's I would meet people who wanted to come over and jam, and then the second I told them my plan is to be a touring band, they're like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah, crazy. What? Yeah, that would be very frustrating. I can empathize with that, but clearly you ended up getting the ground rolling with that. I saw, again, from, not to reference other articles, but I tried to do a little bit of background research. I saw that you said that you did have some interesting characters from doing that, which I can only imagine. Do you have one or two kind of, we're talking about your music, which is goth rock and metal. Did you have any horror stories while we're in the October season from that? Was there anything really crazy that happened, or was it mostly just kind of weirdos and things of that nature?
I did get a lot of weirdos. The problem too was I was like 15 or 16 years old at the time, and most people I was finding who wanted to like be in a rock band were 20s and 30s, you know?
Right.
So right off the bat, it's like I'm a 15-year-old girl posting on Craigslist being like, who wants to play music with me? You're gonna get some weirdos. That's the nature of humans, is there's always gonna be weirdos in every group. But it was really funny. The one time I had this guitarist I was friends with, and we were kind of starting to try to put together a band. It never went anywhere with him. But we had like an open casting call basically saying, come over and audition. I thought, well, he was like a couple years older than me, and I thought he would be like the safe person to have with me while I'm meeting all these strangers from the internet. But so we had like a time from like 1 to 3 for people to arrive, and one guy didn't show up. So then my friend left. And like 2 hours later, it's just my mom and I home alone. And this guy didn't even knock on the front door. He just walked into our house. And
Jesus
like the door
Christ.
wasn't locked and he just walked in. And he was so weird. And I was like, oh, sorry, you already missed the audition. Like the guitarist left. We're not doing it anymore. Like you already missed it. And he just stood there and stared at us. And he kept like walking further into my house. Like he was just like going into my living room. And I was like, no, buddy, you missed it. And he's like, well, I took 3 buses to get here. So you're going to let me audition. And, like, I don't remember, like, much details past, like, except my mom and I being weirded out and both of us, like, walking him towards the front door, kept saying, "No, you already missed it." And eventually we did get him to leave, but my mom was so freaked out. She's like, "Don't you ever invite them to our house again."
Yeah. No
She's like,
kidding.
"Don't put your address on the internet, please."
Yeah. In hindsight, you could, I don't know if you're, if you watch much like true crime stuff. The first
Oh,
thing
yeah.
I read from that was like, I was like, oh man, Craigslist weirdo showing up to your house. Like, I've seen that episode a few times.
Yeah.
That's scary.
My mom is big into Dateline and all those true crime things, and she's like, "Do not give our address to anybody."
Yeah. Rehearsal space is definitely the way to go for a
Yeah.
multitude of reasons, right? Even though it's not quite as cheap as using your home.
Yeah.
But you start doing that. You eventually get some of the band members, I know. And you said you started doing this, 15, 16 years old. So I'm guessing, is Living Dead Girl really the only band and project you've done? Is it like your solo, like one and done type thing you've done your whole career, I guess?
I would say yes, because although I've had a multitude, like a revolving door of people come in and out, like I would have someone I would jam with for a couple months and then they moved, or someone I'd jam with for a couple months and they had an injury. Like I think I had like a drummer that like broke his leg or something. I had someone who moved away and went to school. Like I just had a revolving door of people coming over to jam with me that went absolutely nowhere. But I would say that the entire time I was going through that, I would still say it was Living Dead Girl, because if it wasn't for those years of experience jamming with people and learning how to write music and everything, then Living Dead Girl as we know it now wouldn't exist. So although it wasn't like official back then, we weren't playing shows yet, none of those songs exist now like today. I would still say that that was the creation of this band.
Well, and it's kind of your baby and your vision to kick it all off. So if it's you, I guess it's Living Dead Girl, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. To kind of go from that, where was you talk about you're trying to get all these different band members. You're talking about some interesting stories of trying to get
Right.
some people and yeah, getting some definitely interesting characters. What kind of delves into you finally getting together? And I know it was kind of during COVID times, but ending up getting to the next trajectory of making a record, and not only making a record, but making a record with like a pretty significant producer, Mitchell Marlowe, who's done In This Moment, Papa Roach, a lot of like big name bands in the space. Like, what
Mhm.
was kind of the trajectory from Craigslist, I guess, to Exorcism, I guess, you know what I'm saying?
So basically how that all came together was, so I had like a little lineup of a band at that time in 2019. And one of the members at that point was Jordan, who to this day is still our bassist. So I still say he's one of the founding members of Living Dead Girl because he is like the longest standing person I've had in my band. So it was that group at that time. And basically I was talking to who's now our manager, Jeremy Saffer. At the time he was just like a photographer I kept working with. And he was kind of like my industry buddy who I always ask for advice and ask for questions. And that's what eventually what led to him becoming our official manager. Was I kept saying, "Do you want to stop giving me advice for free and get paid for it?" And he said, "Sure." So before he was even our manager, I was kind of saying, I don't know what to do. I was like, I've recorded a couple demos. I have this little band. We've played a few local shows. Like, what do I do with this? And he said, you need to find a really good producer. He suggested to me Mitchell, and Mitch's name had come up another time. I had talked to a label that was interested in me years and years ago that ultimately went nowhere because they wanted me to just like scream black metal. And I was not into that idea. But they had also said to me, we think you should work with Mitchell Marlowe. So that was twice that his name had come up. And I was like, hey, who's this guy? So I just found him on Facebook and sent him a cold message. Like I just said, I love your work. I love the people you work with. That's the kind of music I want to create. And I said, what is your availability and what are your rates? And he responded to me the next day and was like, can you come next month? And then even later on, I asked Mitch, I said, why did you even respond to me? I'm like, you work with so many big signed artists. Why did you even bother with me? And he said, I could tell you were serious and you meant business. Like, I wasn't saying, hey, check out my music. You might like it. Do you want to do me a favor and like work with me? Like I wasn't like asking for handouts or freebies or anything. Like I just was like, I am self-funded. I want to hire you. What are your rates? So he's like, you seemed like you knew what you were doing. So I just like took the chance. So that's how that all came to be. And then I kind of did it backwards. So I went to the studio by myself, wrote with Mitch, made an album. And once that album was done, it made it easier for me to find band members.
Right.
Because instead of saying to people, hey, trust me, I'm going to make a band, take my word for it, I could show them the songs and say, these are the songs you have to learn. So that's what made it easier for me to form Living Dead Girl. So I kind of feel like making the songs first and then forming the band made it a lot easier.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was going to ask about that. I figured that Exorcism is, you have it under the moniker of the band, but that is like basically like a one band show with a producer for the most part that you threw together, right? Like,
Yeah.
is that something you still going from Exorcism to Conspiracy? Do you find like do you still primarily do all the writing yourself? Do you prefer that? Do you like the collaborative aspect? What's kind of like been your songwriting trajectory, and kind of as someone that did a whole album mostly themselves with the help of a producer, what is your songwriting process in general?
I would say it's still pretty much the same as Exorcism. Like this time around for Conspiracy, Jordan did come to Nashville with me to the studio, and like the guitar riff in 18, that song like is Jordan's riff. And he like did some backup vocals in The Disease, and he like contributed a bit on Wild and Free. And he also did the intro talking part of Succubus. So Jordan actually
Yeah.
was a part of this album, whereas in 2019 he wasn't, because I said like I'd pretty much just been jamming with him. And I was like, do you want to go to LA and make an album with me? And he was kind of like, like
Yeah.
how much does
Yeah.
that cost? And stuff like that was before anything had really happened. So I just went by myself in the first place. But now a few years later, he did come to the studio with me and did get to contribute, which was really fun to have more people there. But like generally for songwriting, it is mostly me, because the band has kind of had like a bit of like a live band like turnover rate, just
Right.
because people can't commit necessarily. Like we had a longtime member who like injured his bicep and then couldn't tour for a few months, so then we got a filling guy, and now that filling guy Michael is the permanent member. So like we've had kind of like some shuffling around with our lineup. I don't necessarily want to, hey, you've been in my band 20 minutes, do you want to come to the studio with me?
Right.
So I feel like it just works better if it's like I'm the constant member, so I'm the one that pays for the album, records the album, writes the album, and then regardless of who the band members are, it won't affect me anyway, like that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And it's more and more of something you see. I mean, the big one that people can talk about that's done that for over a decade, for the most part, was like Caleb Shoma with Beartooth, right? Like,
Yeah.
but more and more people are kind of adopting that model where it's not like you view your band members as like just hired guns, but
Mm,
it gives you that flexibility and the ability to continue to work on things despite, like you said, there's a little bit of a change up of somebody getting injured or somebody that says they don't want to tour anymore, and it's not this
mm.
big shuffling. Also, I'm sure on like the writing credits end, it's less of a headache if you've had a revolving,
Yeah.
that kind of like business side of things certainly
Keeping it
makes it a lot.
simple.
Yeah, keeping it simple and not having to worry about like you said, somebody being in the band for 20 minutes contributing a riff, and then you
Yeah,
have to figure that out for eternity if that song does well or ends up on an album. Like, just like on the business side of things, that does make a lot of sense,
exactly.
especially since you clearly know what you're doing with creating your own sound.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, we talked about a few of the things you've been listening to a lot lately, a lot of the bigger modern metal bands and metalcore bands, along with Avril Lavigne. Um, are there specific, because you're clearly writing a lot of the guitar and the instrumentation side of things as well as your vocals, are there bands that maybe people would be surprised that you kind of take influence from? I mean, you already said a gambit of between pop
Mhm.
rock and modern metal. That could be a lot. That could be a lot of difference there. But are there specific sort of sounds or albums or specific guitar players or writers that you kind of pull from for your own inspiration? Is it other things like movies or other things of that nature, because your music has so many thematic elements? Just kind of speak to that a little bit. What are some influences that you pull from to make your records?
I'm trying to think of any that would be surprising, but I would
They
say
don't
maybe
have
the
to
more
be, I guess, but yeah.
I'd say the more surprising ones, but maybe people wouldn't necessarily guess that I love like 90s Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails, because our music is very modern, polished production. You wouldn't necessarily guess that I also like that more like industrial 90s sound. But I do love that kind of music as well. And I do take inspiration from there as well, even if it's a bit more like polished and modern at the end result. I did still pull from those. And I feel like you can hear that like in Poltergeist and in Succubus. Like when we have a bit more synth and stuff, that's me trying to be like, oh, let's make this song a bit more nice, but obviously with 2025 style sound to it. So you might not guess that like I like that kind of grungier industrial music just based off how sparkly our music is.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think there's an element to that where I think a lot of bands that have the more, modern production 2025 type stuff, like if you're throwing in like Nine Inch Nails to me is like the encapsulation of this, let alone when Trent Reznor and Atticus do scores for movies, which is something
Mm,
I'll listen to over. I'm a huge nerd on their kind of like soundtrack type stuff. Just the kind of ethereal feel that you get from that, I can get that in your music. Like
mm,
it's not just writing and going dark. It's like it could feel a little bit movie score-ish and like the
yeah.
delivery and the thematic type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we definitely played with that kind of cinematic element more so on Conspiracy than we did with Exorcism, like the intro of Poison Me with like that big choir style vocal in it. Like we definitely got to showcase that more on this album.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely shows. And so that's kind of what I want to get into here is your record that just came out this past Friday. What has the reception been overall for it? I saw that the video you released, I think on the album day, if I'm not mistaken, for Succubus is already at, or no, sorry, that was the week before, but 40,000 views like pretty quickly off the bat, which is pretty nuts. So clearly getting a good reaction there. But what's kind of the overall reaction been from people that been listening and reviews and things of that nature? What's the response been?
I so far have not seen one single negative comment or review, so I would say that's definitely really encouraging. Not that, a negative comment or review can like shape my own opinion of how I view my music because I think I'm pretty confident in what I do. I'm not going to let an internet troll take that from me. However, I would say it is very like I don't know, like, I'm very grateful to see that people do actually like it, and people are saying it is a step up from Exorcism, and people are saying, "I loved Exorcism, it's one of my favorite albums, but I think I like this one even more." I've seen people say that, which feels really good. Seeing people say what their favorite songs are is always very interesting to me because everybody has a different favorite song, some like the heavier, some like the poppier, and it's cool to just see, like, what resonated with who. And I would say Succubus is getting an insane response. Like it's been
Mhm.
our first song to get added in rotation and not just on test drive for SiriusXM Octane. So like I heard it like 6 times in one day on Octane. I was literally like squealing. I was so excited. And then I think that's also what's driving the music video views up too, is it's been getting a lot of radio play already. And I found a direct correlation between radio and YouTube. I feel like a lot of people who hear songs on the radio go to YouTube to find the video. So I would say that that's kind of like we do better personally, like as a band, we do better I find with radio and YouTube than we do with like Spotify, TikTok. And I feel like it's kind of like those more like old school metal fans who do still pay for Sirius XM and whatnot. And then they want to go find the video for it. So that's really worked well in our favor is we have that kind of audience.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Personally, I kind of like that approach more because you're not just having people check out a 30-second clip. You're not having to follow some trend that, I mean, I'm not hating on people to do that. Do anything to get your music out there, right? That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying, but it is cool when people that would probably have heard the whole song to begin with then go check it out as opposed to
Yeah.
like I'm saying, like a 30-second clip or less where people might not even listen to the song that much. They might save it on Spotify, listen to it once and forget about it, like it's just sort of the content of the day. Or if someone's like you said, I'm finding that more and more too, that a lot more people than I thought still use Sirius XM. Like I kind of
Mhm.
thought it was going the way of FM radio a couple years back, and I am clearly wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about because yeah, I mean, I noticed that too, that you have like a significant, not to say that your spot numbers aren't everything, but your Spotify numbers are great, but then you look at YouTube or you look at some other areas where it's you're elevated much higher than some bands that if you looked at their Spotify numbers you would think it'd be the other way around, right?
Yeah.
I would personally enjoy that that the people are checking out the whole song and probably
Yeah.
repeatedly checking it out rather than again song of the day type stuff, right?
Well, that tells me, like, that there's a retention here. It's like if they actually watch people have no attention span nowadays since
No.
TikTok videos and we all just doom scroll and we watch 2 seconds of something and immediately decide we don't like it now. So if people will actually watch a 4-minute long video from start to finish, that tells me the video was really interesting to watch then because most people would scroll away very very quickly. So having that kind of YouTube audience really tells us, okay, the music video must be good if people are watching the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. As someone that does like long form video conversations, I don't know what that's like at all. I don't have to like try to find like 30-second clips of this to put up to try to get people to check things out. Don't know what that's like whatsoever. No, but that's great. That's again, that's a fun and like I guess still positive thing to hear from a band that they notice that people are checking out the full thing and having repeated listeners in that vein. That's good to
Mm,
hear in the age of clips like we just alluded to.
yeah.
To dive into conspiracy a little bit more, obviously you had a few singles that you rolled out, a lot of videos. I know that you do a lot of the kind of we could get into this a little more, but like the idea side of the videos as well as the music as well as everything else. You know, you're kind of a one-stop shop in a lot of ways for that stuff. Were there sort of overarching themes lyrically for this record? You can get a lot of things from the songs about, you know, personal grievance or obviously maybe some social commentary, everything in between. But were there overall themes for this record that you were talking about lyrically, or what kind of inspired it in that vein from songwriting?
I feel like where exorcism was more inward, like my own personal experiences and my own feelings, conspiracy is more outward. It's more like my views of the world around me and noticing what other people are doing in society and, like current events and just like what's going on in the world. So I feel like it's overall like a darker and more mature album for that aspect alone. It's kind of less you hurt my feelings and more like looking at actual world issues and talking about them. So I feel like it's kind of more serious in that aspect.
Yeah.
So I kind of changed my songwriting a little bit, being 25 this time in the studio instead of 20. That alone changes a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's kind of what I got from it. It feels sort of like it's a great release for October. I'm sure you did that intentionally because it kind of has that like, you know, you're like you said, you're doing an outlook to the world. You're not doing a quote unquote like a concept record of a narrative, but it has that sort of like apocalyptic feel to a lot of
Mm,
the songs, both like instrumentally and kind of the delivery of your melodies as well as the lyrics. So it's definitely like a good
yeah.
Halloween record, you know?
Yeah, it's perfect for spooky season. There's like a
Yeah.
very I feel like I want to say it's a dark album and it is a dark album. But the one thing that I really like about what we do with Living Dead Girl is that even when we are dark, we're not completely doom and gloom.
Right.
Like we don't make music that's going to leave you feeling depressed after. Like even when I'm talking about these heavy topics, like even in Conspiracy, the title track, like if you look at the lyrics, like in the bridge and stuff, I'm like, never lose sight of what's right and stuff. It's like, even if the world is evil and other people are doing terrible things and the world is, if you want to say, on fire right now, like in the album cover, it's like, even as bad as shit can get, like, don't let it affect you. Don't let it ruin your life. Like, don't let yourself become evil as well. So I feel like we still always have an element of positivity to our music that I'm glad I've managed to like slip in there because I don't like music that makes me just feel completely depressed after.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a space for that, and I find myself like falling into those things and just listening to those depressing music on the planet. But you're right, it is good to like, and you do a good weaving in of that to where it doesn't feel like cheesy, right? It's not like that hope core type stuff where you're forcing in a
Mm,
positive message, but it's not, yeah, it's not just like beating people into like a 6 foot grave either with it with the
yeah.
delivery, right?
It comes naturally, like, I don't even do that intentionally, like, even when we wrote Conspiracy, like, and I put those lines in, I wasn't thinking, "Now it's time to insert a happy lyric," like, that's just how I naturally wrote it. I'm just like, "The
Yeah,
world sucks, but you know what? It ain't all that bad."
yeah, yeah. There's still things to focus on to be constructive, if not hopeful, right?
Hmm.
If you don't mind, we could do this real quick. It doesn't have to be anything lengthy, but what I've done with people, especially since you're the spearhead of this record, is do like a quick, it doesn't have to be like a long for each song. You already did Conspiracy, so we could start with Poison Me. But kind of give me some quick thoughts or quick, you know, little anecdotes for each song, and then we can kind of get into what the band's doing forward post release. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so you went over Conspiracy a little bit. So we can maybe move on to Poison Me. You kind of talked about the overarching one of that song, but with Poison Me, just kind of give me a little what the song's about lyrically. Any little tidbits for that one?
So Poison Me is actually written about the exact same situation as Dysfunctional is, and it's funny to like share that because Dysfunctional is such a high energy, fun, upbeat song, like sonically, even though the lyrics are about a serious thing, it's a very fun song. And then Poison Me is not a fun song. It's like a very dramatic, cinematic, gloomy kind of song. So it's kind of interesting that I was like, I'm just gonna write about the same thing again, but with a different mood. And I thought that was kind of cool to do as an artist. Like, let's just put ourselves in a different headspace but still talk about the same topic. So that song is about having like a really toxic narcissistic person just draining your energy. So it feels like you've been poisoned. Like they just insert their toxicity and it, screws you up.
Yeah, I got that immediately from that song. That's cool that it's sort of like a part two in a completely different way. That's really
Mm.
cool. Go to track 3, We'll All Be Dead.
Well, I'll Be Dead is about my, I'll say quarter life crisis, not midlife because I'm not that old, but it's about being in your 20s going, what the hell am I doing? Because I feel like everyone has that. Maybe they have it a bit younger, maybe they have it a bit older, but for me, it was around 25. It kind of just like sunk into me that I was thinking, like, I go live in a van with my friends and drive across the country. Other people my age are buying houses and having kids. And I'm like, I love what I do. I'm having fun with what I'm doing. But I'm like, am I running out of time to figure my life out? I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And it's by no means like questioning, like what I've chosen to do or anything. It's just wishing you had more time to get to do everything, So it's kind of writing like from the perspective of acknowledging your mortality and the countdown. Cause especially as a woman, it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to have kids when I'm like 40. So it's like, do I ever want to do that? It's just acknowledging your own age, basically.
Yeah, and again, a universally felt crisis, I think, for people, whether you're in your mid-20s like yourself or in your early 30s like me. Like, I could attest that you feel that chronically, sometimes multiple times a day, to varying degrees,
Yeah.
right? Going to track 4, Ugly.
Ugly. So this was written about something so specific. I almost felt like, is this even relatable enough? So I'm glad that song was as well received as it was. But basically, I wrote it about people who only care about appearances and nothing else and how exhausting that can be. It's obviously not supposed to sound, ungrateful. Like, don't compliment me or don't tell me I'm pretty or whatever. I'm not trying to sound like a stuck up bitch in that way, Am I allowed to say the word bitch?
Yeah, you can swear on here.
Oh,
No worries. Yes.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I
Yeah.
already did it. It's not to sound like an ungrateful bitch, like, hey, don't look at me, but it's written from the perspective of like, there is so much more I have to offer than just my appearance. And I wish some people could get past that because it gets really exhausting. Like I did interviews and podcasts before that were about my band. And don't think they could have even named one Living Dead Girl song. They just sat there the whole time going, wow, you're so pretty. Like, how long have you been doing modeling work? And I'm like, I thought I was here to talk about my album. So it's like talking
Yeah.
about being objectified and how it just gets exhausting. It's like, sometimes I wish you wouldn't look at me and you would just listen to me instead. So that's what Ugly is about.
Yeah, and I'm sure this has been beat, I feel like every woman in any band has heard this beat to death, but it is one of those things of like, that's not something most men will deal with in a podcast or interview when it comes to their band, right? Like, even if like they do a big aesthetic thematic thing, like you could talk about Einstein Kills, or you said, Marilyn Manson or whoever else, when they would do these interviews, they're not getting asked about how they look and like the photographs they're taking or things of that nature. It's mostly centered around women in that front, and that's just like such an annoying aspect of interview. But like, if you go back and look in like especially the 2010s or mid 2000s, when that was a lot more rampantly just acceptable,
Yeah.
it was like the most annoying thing to see in every interview of like, an Amy Lee or a Haley Williams or Avril Lavigne or whoever big name female artist. It's like, God damn, dude, can you ask about like one bit of their music, like at all? No one's gonna walk away from this even knowing what their newest release is. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I was talking about the frustration of that. Like, even I've seen like old interviews with Britney Spears when she's like 16 years old and they're asking if she's a virgin and stuff. And it's like, you would never talk to a man that way. So it's just like the frustration of stop objectifying us and just listen to us, please.
Yeah. What a concept to ask the musician about their music, right?
Right?
Oh no! Again, great. You said it was a specific topic, but I'm sure in different veins of people's lives, whatever work they do or whatever, they might not be doing like a public facing job with a platform, but you still deal with that, I'm sure,
Yeah.
on a very, very regular basis. So it's still extremely, extremely relatable. Temptation is obviously a pretty short interlude. I'm not sure if you could kind of include that in because that kind of leads into Succubus, which we were just referencing earlier. So just kind of talk about Succubus and maybe if there's anything about the 26 seconds intro. But yeah, just break that one down for me.
So basically, like, Temptation just is Succubus. Like, if you buy the CD or the vinyl, it's all together as one track. But basically, we were told that you shouldn't put an intro that long on a song on Spotify because people will skip it and it'll hurt the song's algorithm. So we just cut it in half and put it on as its own little song. So if people don't want to listen to it, they're able to skip it. If you're someone that doesn't want to listen to talking for 30 seconds, we understand. But if you want to get the full experience of the song, it is better with it because it's the way the artist designed it. But so the intro I felt like was necessary because the word succubus isn't a very common word. It's not a word people use every single day in the English language. So I felt like we needed to start the song with a definition. And it also kind of gave into the feeling more like I wanted it to be like a folklore kind of like mythological song. Like it's not, I call it an abstract song, same as I did with Poltergeist, where I'm like, the song isn't about anything. It's not about something that happened to me. It's not about a person in my life. It's just a concept that I told a story about. So with Succubus, I wanted it to feel like a storytelling, and I felt like that intro added to that aspect. Like, hey, in case you've never heard this word before, this is what it means. And it's also setting the tone of we're about to tell you a story. So the song is quite literally just about a demon that seduces you while you're sleeping and then kills you. And it's not deep. It's not
Yeah.
about anyone or anything. It's just a storytelling, spooky goth girl song.
Yeah, it's about a succubus, right? Like it's
That's
literally what the
it.
title of it is, which yeah, I love when people can do that too. Like it's kind of fun, especially in this album where you, like you said, you talk a lot about the world or you talk about specific things with you that kind of give you a vision of like what the world and culture is like. And then you get to this one, it's like, oh, we're just gonna do some creepy shit and it's gonna be fun and
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool, right?
It's
Like
kind of fun to admit that not every song needs to be that deep. Like
yes.
it doesn't need significance. It's like when someone asks, do your tattoos mean anything? It's like, no, I have a cupcake on my arm.
Yeah, it's cool. I like and
Yeah.
it's like in that instance, it's like, I don't know, I like cupcakes and I like how it looked.
Yeah.
Like, you
It's
know
like
what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
this song is the equivalent of my cupcake tattoo. I just wanted it.
One of my favorite albums from one of my favorite bands, Chevelle, La Gargola, is like very horror themed, and they have I forget which song it's called. Hunter Eats Hunter, I think, and it's very like this dark. And then they have like a commentary on their Spotify, and their drummer's like, yeah, this song we wrote about the idea of walking out and taking your trash out, and then like a gargoyle attacks you, and like that's what the song was about, and
That's
it's like.
it.
And it's cool, like that's kind of cool that you can make. And Succubus is a little more in depth than that, but like, you know, it's cool to be able to just like make a storytelling song of something that pops in your head, or you know, of like a sort of a mythical demonic creature that you can write about. Well, that's what's cool about that intro too. I thought that was the case because I listened to the advanced stream and then I listened to it on Spotify after it came out, and I was like, wait, there's an extra track. What am I missing? That makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense. And you guys did that in a way where it doesn't sound like you're reading off a definition to somebody. It still has like a cool spooky element to it that, like you said, adds a lot to the song in a fun way.
Yeah, that was our bassist Jordan making his little vocal debut.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that's him like in the video as well, kind of
Yes.
doing it at the very yeah, that's really really cool. Going to track 7, kind of like the second half, I guess, of the record, side B, The Disease. Break that one down for me.
The Disease is about, social media and how people just act really invasive towards other people. And I do not mean this in like a rude way, like you should not be friendly to people or you shouldn't be kind to strangers. Like definitely I've interacted with so many people on social media myself that I'm like, that person's really nice. I like talking with that person, but I've never met them in person.
Right.
It's just like you can have positive engagements with people on social media and connect with people, but this isn't about that. This is about when you take that and like times it by 100. It's about someone you've never met saying things about you and speaking about you and telling stories about you, but you've never met them, and it's like kind of terrifying. And this might sound again like something very specific, but I feel like it's happened to me so many times that I needed to write a song about it. Like I had right before I wrote this song, there was like some guy on Facebook who was saying, before I was in Living Dead Girl, he used to go to this bar with me and we used to drink together in 2014 or whatever. And I'm like, 2014, I was 15 years old. I wasn't drinking age yet. What do you mean you used to go to this bar? I've never been there before. It went out of business before I was drinking age. He was telling like this big long thing about how we used to be friends and stuff. And I just like said to him, like, I'm sorry, when was that? Like, I don't remember whatever. And then he went off and freaked out on me. He's like, you forgot where you came from. It's all gone to your head, blah, blah, blah. And he freaked out on me. And that's literally what inspired me to write this song is I was like, I feel like some people, because of social media and because of Facebook and Instagram and watching the 1% highlight reel of other people's lives, they can kind of like insert themselves into other people's like business, like in like a kind of weird fantasy sort of way.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
feel like that's kind of a disease, if you will, where I feel like it's like we're living in this weird fantasy land. Like social media is not real. Like we don't actually know people. You're not a part of it. You're just seeing the highlight reel of photos they share. You don't actually know anything about these people. So that's what disease is about.
Yeah, parasocial. That parasocial element, especially someone as yourself, or I'm sure other people that we follow, whether it's through bands or whatever public facing people. It's like that parasocial aspect is crazy. When I've had some friends that have a little bit of a bigger platform online share some of their like message requests, like screenshots, and it's like, it's scary to realize that that person probably has a job and goes out and does, like, it's not
Right?
everybody literally, it's not just the cliche even of a guy like sitting at his computer all day in a dungeon. It's like there are people that live semi-normal lives that get online and then they are just absolutely bonkers insane.
Yeah.
And it's truly bewildering. But yeah, that is a disease for sure. I think it's like it's what people are kind of talking about with chat gpt now, of like the chat gpt induced psychosis, where people, like, it's a whole different thing, but like people literally like creating false realities because of what they see on the internet, and like
Yeah.
think they're friends with you or friends with some singer or some actor or something, and it's like, go outside, man, holy shit.
Yeah, go touch the grass and get some sun, please.
Yeah, just absolutely nuts. But again, relatable for sure. Going to track 818, break this one down for me.
I feel like this one is so blunt if you actually listen to the lyrics that it almost feels like condescending for me to explain it to you, but I will. When I was 18, I was definitely hanging out with groups of people, and even younger than 18, honestly. I'm going back to like age 15, 16. And part of that was because I wanted to be a musician, but I felt like I kept hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been. And, maybe doing things I shouldn't have been doing as a teenager. And I didn't realize, because at the time I thought I was so mature for my age. I thought, I'm so cool. All my friends are older than me and stuff. And then, like, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I'm 26 and I wouldn't hang out with an 18-year-old. What the hell were those people doing? That's kind of disgusting. So that song is
Yeah.
just quite literally being like talking to my 18-year-old self, going, hey, I'm sorry that I made you do that.
Yeah, and I think, not to beat a dead horse on this, but again, that goes back to, and I think it's even bigger now than probably when you were 18 or a teenager, with the advent of social media the way it is now too, of just like the creepiest people in the world spending time with minors. It's like, what,
Yeah.
like, it's just like, there was a period of time. I mean, you would hear about it from, from the aspect of like male bands in like the 2000s too, of like all these things that had come out later, and you're like, why was that viewed as almost like socially acceptable? Like it
Like,
wasn't
why
even
were
like
you publicly
something
dating
hidden.
16-year-olds?
Yeah. It's just, yeah. I mean, I'm glad it's more what's the more stigmatized now than it used to be, but it's still a huge problem. But yeah, uh, again, not again, I'm gonna be repetitive on here, but I'm sure that's extremely relatable, especially for a female audience. Some males and things of that nature too. But yeah, like such a weird concept. Yeah, being like, I remember being 22 and thinking to myself, I wouldn't want to even like hang out with people that I couldn't go to the bar with at that point. You know what I mean? Like just so bizarre. Anyway, but yeah, relatable, and like you said, somebody hears the song once, they'll definitely get what it's about. It's not
Pretty
subtle,
blunt.
in a good way. In a good way. Going to track 9, Brainwash. Break this one down for me.
Brainwash kind of ties back into disease, where it's like talking about like a mass psychosis. It's me not talking about myself and my personal experiences, but looking outward at other people, and just how people won't question anything. They won't ask questions. They won't critically think. They won't, even be curious. Like, I myself am a very open-minded, curious person. When someone tells me anything, I say, but why? Or explain that. Or how did that happen? Like, I never just accept things that I'm told. I always just want to know more. I crave more knowledge. I'm someone who reads a lot. I watch a lot of documentaries. I'm well traveled. I feel like I'm really like open to learning things and being curious and whatnot. And I feel like a lot of people aren't. They're very comfortable with, the news said this, so that is the fact. That is true. Or I saw this on one article, so that is exactly what happened. And it's talking about those people, and it's like, do you ever think for yourself? Like, do you ever have your own ideas or thoughts or opinions, or do you just take everything that is handed to you? So that song is talking about the societal, like, everybody just following each other, even if they're sheep walking to the slaughterhouse and they're not questioning it.
Yeah. It's one of those interesting. I remember. It's one of those things too, where people, I think of like in the late 2000s, when the internet was getting bigger and bigger, and people had more access to things like Google or social media in the early stages, or being able to access tons of articles as opposed to one newspaper. People thought that was like, oh, everyone's gonna have access to information, to all the information out there. Everyone's gonna be smarter and more well informed, and it's like, that's so funny in 2025, where it feels like people, it's still the same thing. You just
Yeah.
consume what you consume and you regurgitate it, and then you move on to the next thing, and there's no, yeah, skepticism is good, right? Like, it's good to
Hmm.
not fall into the conspiracy hole, not to do a pun there, but conspiracy hole all the time. But it's good to be skeptical on things, and fact check
Hmm.
and things of that nature, regardless of what the topic or what side of things you're on. And people just don't
Hmm.
do it. Yeah. It's that
Yeah.
15-second brain you were talking about earlier with music, right? It's the same
Yeah.
deal.
It's like, are you even using your brain at full capacity or is it shut off right now?
Yeah, are you offloading it to an app that is just trying to get you engaged, right? Going from there, track 10, we got a total of 3 left. Track 10, Wild and Free.
This song is hilarious because it was written as a joke and ended up being like one of our favorite songs ever. I just kept saying I want to make one metal dance song. You know, like I love like Electric Callboy, but I also love
Yeah.
just straight up pop music. I love early 2000s Britney Spears, like that kind of back when pop music was like nightclub music. Whereas
Mhm.
now pop music is more that whispery, mumbly kind of stuff that I just honestly cannot get into. I like the really high energy music. Like that's what I work out to at the gym. It's like
Right.
you hear it and you want to jump, you want to move. I wanted to make a song that felt like that, but still had like its guitar riff and its drums and everything, some a little bit of screaming in it. So I literally just showed a couple Britney songs to Mitch and was like, "Can we do this but heavy?" And we just played around with it. And then I was like, "Well, what lyrics do I write?" Because normally I write such angry lyrics or emotional lyrics or deep lyrics. And I was like, I want to write something completely dumb. And this is the first time I've said it in an interview. So congratulations, you're the first to hear this. That song is about being a Disney adult.
That's amazing. I love that so much. That's so good. Well, because are you out of Orlando now? Did I see
Yes.
that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
live in Orlando.
you've probably encountered to the nth degree the Disney adult. So you could probably also like wholeheartedly engage in that, right? Like that's
I got
fantastic.
married in Disney World. That's how much I love Disney.
That's incredible. That's awesome. So you can even write about it from a personal aspect.
Oh, yeah.
That's yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mean them. I mean me. I am
Yeah, yeah.
one of them.
That's fantastic. No, that's fantastic to hear that there is a dance metal song about being a Disney adult. That
Yeah.
is
Like I just
100%.
wanted, because I don't want to write partying song because I'm not like a big drinker. I've never done a
Yeah.
single drug in my life. I'm not going to talk about going to the nightclub and getting hammered. I was like, what could I write a fun dance song about? And I was like, my idea of fun is a theme park where I get to hug a college kid in a mascot suit of a rat. So that's what I'm going to write about.
That's fantastic. That's you know what? I think you've got to be the only person that's made that song too. So it's unique. You've now cornered the market of metal Disney adults with that song. So
Right?
that's great. That's
Yeah. You
fantastic.
want to talk about specific? There's your specific song.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Go to track 11, Unstoppable. Unstoppable. Break this one down for me.
Unstoppable is a self-love song. So I wrote that about feeling pride and everything I've accomplished as a musician. But, you know, I kept it vague enough that you don't have to be a musician to listen to it and think, oh, yeah, I relate to this. I just wrote it about whatever it is you're doing and you see how far you've come since you started versus now and just feeling like, I don't know what word to use other than proud, like grateful for it, excited about it, happy with how you've managed to do this. Like it's supposed to just be an entirely positive, uplifting song. I really actually I think that song might be my favorite lyrics I've ever written. I feel like I should get them tattooed on me. Like I love the lyrics of that song so much. And it's a very short song too because I was like it doesn't need much to it. The lyrics are very staccato, like in the verses they're almost kind of like scream rapping. I
Mhm.
crammed so many words into the music. Even when I was recording it, Mitch is like, "You wrote too many words, they're not going to fit." And I just stepped up to the mic and was like, "Hold my beer. Like I'm going to make these lyrics fit." We just crammed so much into it that the song just needed to be like a little 2-minute blip of energy. It didn't need anything more. It's just a very simple, fun song.
Yeah, and it still feels completely fleshed out and full. I love that with when a short song feels that way, then it's like that's the goal, right? Is it doesn't
Yeah.
you don't realize how short it is because there's so much energy to it, right?
I hate short songs that feel like they're missing something. It's like, wait, why isn't there another verse or another bridge? Whereas I feel like Unstoppable is like all it needed to be.
Yeah, I gotta ask, yeah, because you do go pretty scream rap on that one. Is that one you've performed live? Do you think it'd be a difficult one to pull off, or is that one you're throwing in the set list at all or anything?
As of right now, I have zero plans of putting that in the set list. And I will tell you why. It is not the scream rapping, it is the chorus. The
Oh,
vocals
okay.
overlap so much.
Yeah,
I
that makes
wanted to
sense.
play it at the album release party, but I tried practicing it a few times and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a strong live song. And I was like, it's so like the screams and the verses go right into the chorus and then the singing starts right away. I
No
was like,
breaths. Yeah.
and it's such a short song. And I don't know, I kind of feel like the guitar riff isn't really something people would mosh to or headbang to. So the audience might kind of feel a little confused on what to do with it. I kind of feel like there are certain songs that are just meant to be album songs, and that might be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I was just yeah, because you say that. Yeah, it seems like there's not a whole lot of area for you to like I said earlier, just breathe and take make sure you can have your lungs filled for the next moment because it's a
Yeah.
nonstop energetic song, but it's great. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
The last one, Survival Mode, I found this one to be, I'm someone that tends to be a sucker for either the first track of a song or a song of an album or the final one, because I find a lot of people will do something a little different with the track or the album ender, the closer. And that's kind of the case with this one. It was a little more somber. Obviously it builds up and but it has like a very different feel to it, I think, than the rest of the record while still flowing with it. So yeah, it was just kind of a highlight for me, but break down Survival Mode for me.
So survival mode is basically like on Exorcism We Had Stronger. I feel like I absolutely love ballads so much. And I don't even really want to call survival mode a ballad, but compared to the rest of the album, I guess it kind of would be. I love softer music too. I know I said I don't love depressing music, but I actually do love like a good emotional ballad. Like especially Avril Lavigne's ballads in particular. Every time she does like a piano and vocal song, I think it's like stunning. And they're always my favorite songs. So I kind of wanted to play with, oh, let's make kind of a more rock, not metal, kind of borderline pop song that's more in the vein of a ballad. So it's kind of more like, it's kind of anthemic. It's more rock than metal. It's a different sound for us, but I feel like it's not too completely out of left field that you wouldn't know it's Living Dead Girl. I think the more out of left field one would be Wild and Free or Brainwash, but Survival Mode fits in the album well. I think it concludes it nicely. But so that one's different sonically for us, but the lyrics are really about like making a major life change and all the emotions that come with it. So I moved from Canada to Florida by myself when I was 23 years old. I didn't have a single family member or friend here. I just packed up a U-Haul and my parents dropped me off. And that was it. Like that was a huge, scary life decision. Then I very temporarily moved back to Canada because I had to renew my work visa and everything. And then I literally turned around and went right back to Florida a few months later. So I feel like just between that alone, but also the age difference of 20 to 25 and all the things that happen in between then, like experiencing grief and loss and experiencing big milestones and just everything. It's like about all the feelings that come with life change. And I just kept saying the line over and over, I'm tired of living in survival mode. It's like, I don't want to be fight or flight. I just want to like relax and enjoy my life. I don't want to feel scared all the time. I just want to do things. So that's what that song is like really about, is all the emotions that come with it. Like I say, I'm a believer and a skeptic. I'm excited but apathetic. I'm like, I feel so many things all at once. And it's like, you literally just need to open the door and walk through it. That's it. You just need to jump.
Yeah, again, I'll say it for the millionth time, very relatable. I think, especially anybody that's made a big move or a big change. Moving from Canada to Florida, that's all by yourself is a testament in and of itself. But yeah, no, great song. And like you said, it's a great way to kind of wrap up the album. I always love when people kind of do, like you said, ballad is maybe not the correct word, but at the very beginning, it very much feels that way, and then it goes from there to more of an anthemic feel to it. So yeah, great closer. And again, like I said, a big highlight for me personally on the record.
Thank you.
So yeah, the album's absolutely fantastic. Out now. It's been out since the 10th. I'll have the links for everybody in the show notes for you to find the album, to find the band, to find merch, to pick up a physical copy, which everyone should do always. Going from the rollout of this record, and you had the album release in Orlando on the 10th, right? What's going forward for the rest of the band for the band for the rest of the year and for this rollout? Are you guys going on tour? Just kind of speak to those things for people that might not be aware.
So you can expect a very big announcement soon. I don't have the exact date to give you, but it will be later this fall. Living Dead Girl has a documentary about us coming out to Amazon Prime.
Oh, sick.
So that is very exciting. And it's kind of just a more in-depth dive into the life of being a very DIY artist and what that means and what that looks like. So we're going to be taking our viewers on a more in-depth journey than we ever have before with that. We have another music video coming out later this year. We just filmed it the other day and I'm very excited about it. It kind of combines a lot of different aspects of our like creative projects together, and you'll understand what I mean when you see it. So that I'm very excited about. We are booking our shows and tours starting for next year, kind of piecing together what the next year is going to look like, and just really focusing on spreading the word of Conspiracy, trying to get as many people to hear it as possible.
Yeah, that's the way to go, and it helps that the music rips, right? So all you got to do is get people to check it out for the first time, and they'll be hooked in for sure. Excited. That documentary, that's a great idea. That's something I'd like to see more often, and it's cool that it's going to be on a major streaming platform as well that people can check out. So
it was so fun filming it. Like having like a camera following me around felt like keeping up with the Kardashians, but at a truck stop in the middle of nowhere in a van.
Yeah, the glamorous lifestyle of a touring band in that vein, right? Yeah.
Like keeping up with the Kardashians, but trashy.
but DIY, yeah, DIY, yeah, like with a lot more breakdowns. No, again, Molly, thanks for breaking all this down for me. Last two things, just plug where people can find the band and your music. Again, that'll all be below, but for people to hear it on the audio front. And then I always play a song at the end, and I always have the band member pick it. So obviously it's got to be from the album. But yeah, plug where people can find you and the band and everything in between, and then pick a song from the record to play at the end here.
So you can find us on our official website, livingdeadgirl.ca. It's .ca as in Canada, not .com. So make sure if you type in .ca, that's where you can find everything Living Dead Girl. You can sign up for our email newsletter to make sure you're updated on new tour dates. We've got our CDs, vinyl, t-shirts, all of our merchandise stores on there. Our music videos are all linked on there. So it's kind of just like a one-stop shop to find everything. And if you want to follow us on socials, we are Living Dead Girl Official on Instagram, Living Dead Girl Band on Facebook, Living Dead Girl Official on TikTok. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, but I honestly never use it because I forget it exists. But I think we're LDG Band Official on there if you're a Twitter user. And yeah, basically the website is where you'll find everything. So if you want to see our tour dates and see if we're coming near you, that's where that would be. And then as for picking a song, I feel like we should end with Unstoppable because that was like the positive, happy, like that's a good note to end on.
Yeah. It's a good one for people to check out. I think like, a really fun element of your band. Especially like again, your vocals on that one are crazy. So that's a good one for people to check out. For kind of a first endeavor if they haven't checked out the whole album or the band before. So yeah, we're gonna play Unstoppable from Living Dead Girl. This has been Molly from Living Dead Girl on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.